Drop it. I have less lethal. No! Back up! Impacting!
Hi everybody, welcome back for another video. This is an interesting video. It's using kinetic impact projectiles. I know that I've been talking a little bit about pepper balls a lot and chemical agents recently, but I wanted to get back to these like I mentioned in one of my posts previously. Kinetic impact rounds are really the favorite among the less lethal community, and I think there is a consensus about how many joules you need in order to have a potential to stop someone. And stopping power, in quotes, is a big topic. And there's a lot of discussion and a lot of debate, and a lot of times it depends on what kind of launcher you have to where you think it's capable of stopping power or not. And I think I want to get us all past that point of conjecture and speculation and wondering what will work and what won't work. And I want to show you an example today. And you saw the scenario. This guy is out. The police officer now has his beanbag shotgun. And these things shoot at a beanbag at about 100 joules. So this is higher than most people are using for their less lethal applications. Now, I do admit a beanbag round is going to have a bigger surface area and it's going to be a softer hit than a small, harder, or even a metal projectile. So we're talking apples and oranges there. But when we're talking about joules, there's 100 joules roughly of impact on a person from a beanbag round. Plus, in this video, as you'll see, sometimes that's not enough. And sometimes even when they have to resort to a firearm, it's not always enough. So let's watch the video and then come back and talk about it.
Now he's got a standard 12-gauge shotgun with an orange stock, but he's going to use it, and these are essentially going to spread out. It's designed not to cause long-term trauma and penetration, but they do what they do. Now this guy's down. This is a very important lesson right here, not to assume that he's out of the fight.
Stay down.
This guy will come back, and it is
roll over.
quite surprising.
Everyone stand the same line. Stand the same line. Roll over.
And what's going to happen is there's going to be some crossfire going on here that is quite scary to me. The guy on the left with the firearm is firing and ultimately makes the shot that puts him down. But look at the angle. That's a little scary crossfire to me.
Okay,
so there you see it. This guy, he was straight out of a Terminator movie. I mean, he was taking those beanbag rounds and he was moving, and he was able to go behind the vehicle a little bit. And then I don't think the beanbag shotgun was able to shoot. He had to come back around and catch him from the other side. But somebody was hitting him with shots that were off camera that we weren't able to see. I saw him specifically take multiple beanbag rounds, and then they started hitting him with a firearm. And it just goes to show you that when you really are talking about stopping someone, even with when the firearm entered the fight, he went down. But these guys can reanimate and come back up, and if they have a firearm, they can start firing from on the ground. And if he has a knife, he can still come back and fight a little more before he finally gives out. In this case, the guy was not going to give up. He was willing to take whatever they had, and I'm amazed that someone could take as much as he did. Obviously, they finally got the right shots on target and put him down, and he did not move again. And unfortunately, it's just a really bad situation all around, like a lot of these body cam videos that surface and become available because there's a reason why that they're here for people to see, publicly available, and for us to examine and to comment on them. And that's what I try to do. So this is an example where I don't know how to advise people any better other than to just be realistic in your thinking about your kinetic impact. Don't assume that because my upgraded FSC or my VKS or my other launcher is hitting 100 joules and it can bust through a wood or it can bust through a metal sheet, that in a real life situation that this person that you hit with a blunt object. If it's a round ball and it's a non-penetrating object, the stopping power completely depends on pain tolerance, and this person has to be willing to stop because of the pain. Even if you break ribs and you maybe it even penetrates a little bit into parts of their body, causes deep tissue bruising. These are not going to stop someone if they're not absolutely in their right mind and they're determined. They may just keep going, knowing that you're not terminally ending their ability to get in, to stay in the fight. With a firearm, you're actually penetrating and you're doing exactly what you want to do, and the ballistics tell you if you get it in the right areas and you cavitate and you create all of this tissue damage and you damage the vessels, they're going to bleed out and you're going to stop them, and that works many times better than the blunt force, less lethals that we're using. So I think a lot of times we start saying, well, my less lethal is now lethal, and my less lethal is now in that range. And yes, it is very possible you could kill someone with the right headshot. You might put them down immediately. But otherwise, if you're just causing deep tissue bruising and maybe you cause some internal damage and someone might die a few days later, that's still lethal, and your less lethal was less lethal, but you still killed someone. But it may not be enough to save your life. In the short term, in that time, you need to put them down as quickly as possible, and the firearm is going to do that. That's why less lethals are less lethal, and they're less popular among the general public. But I think we guys have to keep that in mind. If we're using a less lethal, we should have the expectation of it not necessarily stopping someone. You're not trying to put someone down permanently for sure, but you should be going the opposite way. The police are always, these scenarios are always in the case where the police are having to pursue the person. That's their job and their responsibility. And I know that in our case, you may fire a few shots. That person is not going to chase you down as you run away. So, the less lethal can still be quite valuable and useful, but don't overestimate its ability to stop someone that is really trying to get to you, especially if you are enclosed in your home and you can't get out. Just realize that you're in for a battle, and that it's not quite as simple of a task. Even if you're armed with your firearm, you just hope that you're not in a firefight, because it becomes a big gamble both ways. So this was another one of those videos. It's hard to watch. I hate to see these types of results, but that's what we got here. All right, so here's the poll. I did a sub 20 joule poll about 2 weeks ago, so I gave you plenty of time to vote. I got in 24 votes. And, about 2/3 of you, 63%, believe that a sub 20 joule launcher is always going to be suboptimal. There's really not a lot you can do to make it something that would deter someone enough to stop them. And I didn't really specify very clearly here. I'm not really talking about putting someone down. I'm not talking even about stopping power in the concept, in the terms of what we're talking about in this video, which is very different. But I do believe that sub 20 joule launchers obviously have nice utility in specific situations. There are a lot of undetermined individuals that can be deterred by just pulling that out and just the visual of it. But I'm talking about the kinetic impact and will it turn someone around? Yes, part of the time, but I think a lot of the time, if the person is really a significant threat to you, these will have an insignificant effect. And if you increase a sub 20 joule launcher and you do some really innovative mods, and you either use some heavier weight ammo or you use some metal ammo, and you increase the joules by 30%, or you get a little bit better penetration in a piece of wood or in a piece of metal, does that really translate into a better effect on a person and on their body and on pain compliance? I'm not convinced that it really translates to a significant effect, but with that said, I would never tell anyone not to upgrade their launcher. Obviously, we want to get as much out of these as we can, and that's a very hot area right now to take these weak launchers
and to upgrade them and to try to get as much as possible. And there's no reason you should not do that, but just have reasonable expectations that your sub 20 joule launcher is still going to be a sub 20 joule launcher when you're done with that. And it may be compact, it may be easy to carry, and it may be a useful tool for you in a fighting situation to create distance and to get away from someone, and that's really the value. So that's on the lower end of the scale. I didn't really talk about the upper end here, but you can tell in the video that as you go up from 20, 30, 40 and higher, you do start to have more deterrence, more pain. But even like the guy in this video, he wasn't going to be stopped by 100 joule beanbag rounds. And he was obviously in pain, but he kept fighting through.
Lots of joules does not necessarily always result in the best real-world result that you think that it would. So just temper the bravado and the overconfidence and be a little bit more in tune with what you might get out of your launcher. And, just keep all of this in mind and just always be aware, always be careful and be safe, folks. And that's all I'm going to say about this one. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.